How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Durrell Willis, and I'm here with the Luxury Transportation Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Morris. Dr. Morris, tell us about yourself.
Hey guys, this is Dr. Morris Parker, CEO of TCW Limo, and the Luxury Transportation Academy, and we are live here with you guys today, and going to discuss some limo industry stuff.
Absolutely, and so we want to jump right into it because a lot of people, I'm sure, are looking to understand, okay, why this luxury transportation podcast and why now. And as we see podcasts popping up everywhere and we see podcasts coming to the forefront, we want to ensure that people are educated and informed on what truly is luxury transportation. So, Morris, tell us a little bit about the Luxury Transportation Podcast, why now, and what's the importance?
Well, the Luxury Transportation Podcast is important because, there's a lot of inspired people and a lot of hungry people who are interested in the luxury transportation business. I've found in my studies that, people see the value of it, and some people are interested and don't know the full value of it. And so, my goal is to educate, inform, really, also, not only just educate and inform, but really, give people the art of the chauffeur and, just enlighten people on the benefits of being independent, being an entrepreneur, and, tapping into a business that you can create your own clientele.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's value in hearing the lessons that you've learned, as well as what does it look like in a day-to-day of a luxury transportation company. So let's start there. What really got you started in this space? How long have you been in it? And what really gives you the ability to classify your company and your organization as a luxury transportation company?
So I started back in 2013. My very first customer, I always say my very first customer was a celebrity. When I first got into the business, it was just an idea that I thought of, but, I felt like, I could do something different in my market at the time. I just felt like I was going to bring a certain level of class, and, consistency. It wasn't an act for me. I felt like it was actually something that was a part of me that I was going to be bringing to my particular market. Being in Memphis, Tennessee, in upscale, car service was something that I feel like, I believe I could do this. So I didn't really even know the fullness of what it was. I just thought about it as an idea, and so I gave it a try. But along the way, I started to see, at first it was cool to drive around a celebrity. But then at some point, I think maybe 6-8 months into the business, I started to, research and see that, this is a real business that people are consistently doing pickups, running trips, consistently having, corporate travelers coming in on a regular basis, daily, weekly. And then so I decided at that point that this was going to be, I was going to, push forward, full steam ahead. And so, fast forward from that, just over the past 13 and a half years, I've learned, you'll find in some of my greatest quote is that your greatness comes from your ability to learn. Over the last 13 and a half years, I've learned from, each intersection or each challenge. And, I've learned to build and become very, very good at critical thinking and fast action. And so that has become, helped to aid me in becoming a successful entrepreneur in this space. And here we are now, I've built a clientele. It's all about building clientele. You have to understand that it's not an overnight success, but you have to build a clientele in order to have consistent cash flow or consistent revenue. You have to be running trips.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. You got to be running trips.
Yeah. And from running those trips over the last couple of years, you may have classified, hey, I've gotten to the space. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a vehicle or a couple of vehicles. But what part of that in going all in did you say, hey, you know what? I want to increase the level of quality of service to where when customers see my brand and see my name of my company, they think he's going to give me the best service. I'm going to feel secure, but I'm also going to ensure I'm going to continue to repeat my business with him because of that quality.
Well, from day one in my mind, I was going to have the best service. Whether I did it right or wrong.
Yeah.
You have to have, and so part of this is in my book, and a part of this is in my the Art of the Chauffeur lecture, is that it has to be in you, right?
Yeah.
Certain things you just got to believe it. Before you step one foot into it, you got to believe that you are going to be the best. And, and that was my attitude from day one. It was that, I was going to bring a unique touch to it. And that's everything that I did along the way. And, of course, customer service, value. If you value things, you are going to act different.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to treat it different, right?
Yeah.
And so this is why I teach, this is why I say, specifically the word value, teaching value for the affiliates and a value for different transactions, is because, when you understand the value of something, when you value something, you're going to carry it a little bit more precious.
Yeah.
You value your baby, your newborn, you carry it,
mm-hmm.
and so, I value my customers early on.
Yeah.
And this is how I was able to retain, because I'm a good businessman. You got to have integrity, value your customers and relationships. And, if you're a builder instead of a destroyer, in business, you will win, because, everything you destroy in life, you gotta repair.
Right.
So, let's get that destructiveness out of us and let's become a builder. And so a builder of relationships, right? And that equates to, success in business when you're a builder of relationships, good relationships, positive, fair, valuable, where you're valued on both, equally valued.
Yeah.
This becomes, in business, this becomes an essential thing to repeat customers, because now the customer values your service, your product, and value you enough to continue to come back to you or your business.
Yeah. Yeah. And even that part of value enough to where if they have a colleague or somebody that is of the same stature or class, where they're recommending your service, because ultimately, referral, word of mouth and referral based business is that repeat engine, right? And if they are constantly doing service with you, oftentimes they're going to be talking about that service, and they're going to be talking about that with their colleagues to then afford you more opportunities to service more clients and increase that clientele.
Yeah, and then you have to start with a foundation, a base point of customers, and then you start to build. It's a rinse repeat.
Yeah.
You continue to take care of customers, and you do a great job, and then they refer people. They come back to you. You continue to rinse and repeat, and then you start to. Early on, I didn't know this, but I learned it as fast as I could. But you have to, capture that data, and that's where, different software tools help you and aid you in, having access to capture that data, that customer information.
Yeah.
Those different things that can, help you now market back to this. You've worked hard as a startup and you got your head down. You didn't realize that, you now got 150 emails or customers or transactions. And so now you can turn around and go back and market to that same class of 150 people that you've picked up. And now you can continue to get that repeat customer, because you have effectively utilized all of the different tools and opportunities to, recapture that customer, re-engage that customer. And that's where, that's where the tools come in, and that's, knowing how to utilize the tools, the software, that's where that is a key component early on.